Viewers, it's the Champions Trophy and it's being called the Clash of Champions, and that's because two teams that seem to excel in the one-day format are in the final, India and New Zealand. Yes, viewers, a whole generation of cricket players have come and gone when New Zealand defeated India in the final of the Champions Trophy last in 2000. Rohit Sharma's team will have no recollections of that disappointment. In fact, they arguably begin as favourites. And this is primarily because the boys in blue have made recent contests very one-sided. India versus New Zealand in the 5 ODIs, and you can see India has really won each one of them, and convincingly so. So this is a record that stretches back over the year, which tells you that India has, by and large, got the measure of New Zealand. But the Kiwis have a habit of elevating their game in big contests, especially when they've encountered India. Let's talk a little bit about the head-to-head contest between India and New Zealand in ICC Trophy finals or ICC matches. I told you about the 2000s Champions Trophy. New Zealand won that by 4 wickets, but that, as I said, was 25 years ago. Then you had the WTC, which is the World Test Championship final in 2021. New Zealand won by 8 wickets, and that broke India's heart, and it really did hurt India. Rohit and Virat hold the key, however, as their records suggest. And you can just look at how Virat and Rohit both produced their best, especially in crunch games against New Zealand. Those are the Virat Kohli's numbers. They do all the talking. In fact, the bat does a lot of the talking. 100 and 550s, 350s rather, so 450 plus scores in 9 matches. That's pretty decent, viewers. Rohit, since 2020, 6 matches, and he scored 150. So both these players will want to really contribute, and New Zealand will want to see their back, because both of them in this tournament have hit a purple patch. But over the course of the tournament, the Kiwis have had a number of informed players, both bowlers and batsmen, that have really done very well, and they're also at the top here of the list of performers, of the best performers in this Champions Trophy, and this will make them very dangerous. Also, one must not forget that the runs the Kiwi side saves in the field. This is a very overall well-rounded side that India is playing against. But as I told you, viewers, a lot of informed players on both sides. This is a pretty balanced contest, but I'm not going to stand in between you and the experts. Let's look at this match from a very objective perspective tonight, and let's get a sense really of how India could end up doing. So let's open this up and let's introduce our panel. Atul Vasan, former Indian cricketer with us. Ayaz Menon, senior sports journalist. Dilip Doshi, former Indian cricketer. As also Sabah Karim. All of them legends in their own right and have contributed immensely. Let me begin first with Mr. Atul Vasan. Atul Vasan, this is an important game for India. Of recent, and I'm not trying to sort of belabor this point in any which way, India's dominated in ICC events, but kind of faltered in the finals, the T20 being an exception. What should they do differently this time, if anything at all?
Well, at least we are there and thereabouts every tournament, And I think we should always think about ICC tournaments, because this is many coming together. Suddenly, people actually lose big events and then go back and thrash somebody in a bilateral series, except when you play against Australia or England or the Sena countries. You really feel that, okay, no, it was a bad luck, because then the bilateral series have this convoluted way to add to your points and rankings and all, which is beyond me. But ICC tournament means that it's like a Champions Trophy or a World Cup or something like that. And I think that's where, if you win, then that's where you get the bragging rights. And India has been very consistent. We played 2 World Test Championships, and we lost the final of the World Cup, which we dominated. Only the one match we lost, and then we won the T20 World Cup. Imagine. But then that kryptonite season in the middle when we lost to New Zealand at home, and then we lost to Australia, which was expected by me. So having said that, but we are there, so we don't expect us to win every game. Anybody can lose a do or die encounter, and so be it. But and you mentioned all the records and everything in the past. Before we lost to New Zealand at home, if you look at the record, New Zealand had won nothing since 1960s, but we still lost. So I think I'm not a big fan of what has happened so far. It is the current form, and India can actually, I can guarantee you, if India can give in two teams in every event, I will still be up there.
Okay. Dilip Doshi, let me bring you into this conversation. Many people are saying we've got a kind of home advantage. Yes, the hosts are Pakistan, but India has the home advantage because we played pretty much all our matches in Dubai. New Zealand flies in. They'll have to adapt to these pitches, get a sense really of how they behave. Can it all sort of happen in 3 or 4 days, or does India really go in here with everything teeing up in its favor?
Well, I think they are on even keel, in my view. This New Zealand team, their spinners held top hand over our team in the 3-test series, which on turning pitches, they won easily. So I would say that I would not undermine New Zealand team, especially their bowling. At the same time, I would say that New Zealand have just scored about 360 runs, so they would be in good nick. This 4 or 5 days gap for India, not necessarily as good as it appears. And every final is starting on a new slate. You know what I mean? Yeah. People say, okay, both the teams will say, we are in the finals today. We got to play well tomorrow and give up our best, and we would win. So I think we start even. This is my view. The team winning the toss would win, will bat first for sure. And the wicket is going to have a little wear and tear, and we'll see a little more turn towards the second innings.
Okay, Sabah Karim and Ayaz Memon. Sabah Karim first. New Zealand has this history of peaking at the right time in some of these big tournaments. How ready do you think they are to clash with India? India's got a very balanced squad this time.
Well, I think New Zealand is a formidable opponent. They prepare well. They're a hard-working side. They're very high on work ethics, and one can expect a tight contest in the finals of the Champions Trophy. You see, I think the best part about the most notable feature of the New Zealand side is that they end up focusing only which is in their control. For instance, they're not bothered about any outside noises. They're not worried about the outcome of the toss. They're not worried the kind of surface they're playing on. Whatever is given to them, they prepare according to that. And I think we have seen that in the past. This is the side which can maximize whatever resources they have with them. And one can expect the same in the finals also. I felt that in the semi-finals against South Africa, because of the superior bowling attack, especially the pace bowlers, plus the kind of middle order they had, South Africa had an edge. But look what happened. It was New Zealand who took center stage because the massive runs they scored, and then they simply outclassed South Africa when New Zealand time came to defend that target, that score. So I think that's what you can expect from New Zealand. Having said that, I do believe that India is blessed with riches in terms of form. You talked about Rohit and Virat. I think the best part about the Indian side is that although these two are legends and superstars of the side, but there are other players in the team who have done exceedingly well. Shubman Gill, Shreyas Iyer, Akshar Patel, KL Rahul among the bowlers. Mohammad Shami on dead wickets has done quite well. The spin combination or the four spinner that India has played so far, all of them are in very good form. So I think that way India is a much balanced side. But come the finals, one can expect a pretty emboldened New Zealand side up against India.
Okay. Ayaz Memon, the thing is that India is coming to this final, done fantastically well. It's a real big test for Australia. We put it across them, but Australia didn't have its frontline bowlers. Let's not forget that. New Zealand are a better bowling unit than Australia on any given day, at least as of now in this tournament. Will that make a difference here?
I mean, that could be the difference, I mean, if the New Zealand players or the team bowls as well as they've shown through the tournament, except for the match they lost against India. Rahul, the thing about these two teams is that their strengths are very similar. Both bat very deep. Both have got a plethora of all-rounders. The captain has 6 bowling options to choose from. There are enough pace bowlers, there are enough spinners. One can argue that India's are the more accomplished, in terms of experience and even in terms of decent performances in white ball cricket. But the attributes are very similar. A very good top order and a batting lineup which has been in very good form, except again in the match against India, where they just didn't get off to a good start and they were contained for a very very for a very modest score. So I think both teams have learnt their lessons from that encounter. India won that match, but I don't think India will take this lightly because New Zealand have the ability to pull off surprises. We saw that in the 2019 World Cup in England, where they beat us in the semi-finals. I don't think that India can afford to take this team lightly. But I'll just sum up what the other three panelists have said. India's heft in batting and bowling and the sheer talent and finesse that is available in terms of the skill sets is fabulous. So this is as good a one-day team that I've seen from India across maybe half a century. So I would say that India will start off as favorites, but New Zealand, you can't take them lightly. They are a very ambitious team. They might not show it. They are very undemonstrative, but they are very deeply ambitious and they are very resilient.
Okay, this is very interesting. Let me just quickly bring in Atul Vasan on this. Ambitious cricket team, resilient. How does this play in? I mean, there's legacy also. Let's not forget that they have won the Champions Trophy against us. That's a long time back. But fundamentally, this is not a squad that's going to roll over.
Oh, of course not. I mean, I forgot that in the 25 years, this is the best team. And still plenty left in the tank because it's no Jasprit Bumrah and Rishabh Pant is sitting on the benches. So imagine what kind of depth we've got. But having said that, I think we are resilient, whatever, but we are a team of superstars. In a country, cricket is a metaphor for the well-being of the country, the sentiment of the country. So I think they are in the psyche of everybody. And imagine that's the burden they carry compared to New Zealand, where they've got no monkey on the back. They just go there, as Sabha put it very lightly. They are hard workers. They are unglamorous. They're working men. And they find players like Glenn Phillips who can keep, who can spin, who can hit the ball. I probably he can fly a plane and do heart surgery also because and he's got no name in the world cricket. So if they've got players and depth like that, and he'll probably go back and do some kind of job in the off season. This is what their culture is. Probably if they win it, there will be 5 reporters when they land in Auckland. And they will go to their homes and their wives will go to work and everything, that kind of story. But imagine if India wins something, that's the motorcade going and all that. So this is the backdrop of what our country expects from our cricketers and compared to New Zealand. So when this contest happens, it gives me the belief that, the sportsman, the crux of sportsman spirit in the world is still alive.
Okay, that's interesting. Sabha Karim, 2 questions. Many people think, and we've already seen Smith hang up his one-day boots, many people think that this is perhaps the last big final, ICC one-day final, trophy final, that either Rohit or Virat will be playing. Is this the right reading? Do you think this could be their last hurrah in this format, this 50-over, limited overs format?
Together, to see Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli may be a strong possibility, Rahul, because I do believe that now the World Cup is in 2027 in one-day format. In any case, T20, both these cricketers are not part of the Indian side. So yes, I think I do expect Virat Kohli to continue. Rohit Sharma, I do have my doubts because I feel the way he has led the side. He has won India the World Cup T20. Now the thing, brink of winning another Champions Trophy that happened long time back in 2013. He has kind of geared himself to reach this kind of a pinnacle. And I think if everything goes well for India, we may not see Rohit Sharma in one-day format for too long. So yes, I do feel that this entire so-called leadership group that includes Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, we may not see them together. Maybe after this Champions Trophy, and I really hope that it ends up on a high note for both these cricketers.
Yeah, it's important from a legacy perspective, isn't it, Mr. Doshi? Because at the end of the day, both these players, they're looking at, some people say, the sunset of their careers, at least in this shorter form of the game, and it would matter to them, wouldn't it? That'll make them extra motivated.
I think they are very proud players. And Rohit may call it a day, as Sabha was saying, maybe. Virat shouldn't call, in my view. He is still in his prime as fitness, and his game is he reinventing his game. In my view, at this age, he realizes that he is moving away from one strong point to building another. One thing I must say in favor of New Zealand that they have no pressure from the country as it is. They are really more or less players who love for the passion. The money they may be getting in playing for the country is a pittance compared to what our boys get. So really, they play all out without having any kind of worries on their head. The other thing is New Zealand, the upbringing is of they play the contact sports of rugby, football. So the physical fitness, diving, and converting half chance into full, as we have seen, is great. And on the occasion, they really rise. So this is one thing great about their character as a sports people in New Zealand. And we have tons of talent. So I think it's a battle of attrition tomorrow. What you can bring on the table tomorrow matters a lot. What happened in the tournament, you beat everybody comfortably, is a matter of the past. So what happens tomorrow is the ultimate.
Ayaz Memon, who do you think is going to really wear that crown lightly? Now, we've talked about burden, and there is pressure of expectation every time the Indian boys go out there. But finals means that the pressure is 5 times more. So who's going to wear this crown lightly?
Look, I think the pressure will be greater on India. I think I take the point that Dilip has made, and also Sabha and Atul. India is a cricket mad, cricket crazy country. It's a religion here, and it's a cliche to say that, but it's true. So the pressure on the players is enormous. I was in Dubai for the Indo-Pak match and the India-Bangladesh match, and it's palpable, the pressure that these guys carry. New Zealand, in that sense, will be under lesser pressure. But having said that, remember, it is the final, and as I mentioned earlier, I'll reiterate this, they are an ambitious team. They've seen breakthroughs happening. For historically, they were seen as the perennial bridesmaids. In the World Cups, they would reach the semi-finals, get knocked out. They lost a very contentious final in 2019 to England in the ODI World Cup. But then they beat India in the WTC final in 2021. And then they've beaten India in the Test series. They whitewashed India in the Test series in India. And that taste, that flavor of success, beating the best team in their home, is something that, it just provokes even more ambition and more desire. And I sense that is happening. We saw it in glimpses. We saw glimpses. I mean, that catch which Glenn Phillips took to dismiss Virat Kohli in the previous encounter was, you could say it was some kind of a computer game that was being played. It was not unreal, surreal. So these are the, Rachin Ravindra, young boy from, very oriental in his stroke play, the way he plays his strokes, and so on and so forth. So Mitchell Santner, Dilip Doshi will bear me out. He's probably the best left-arm spinner going around, or the best finger spinner in the world. And he's leading very admirably also. So I think there are some interesting battles within the mother battle, which one can savor on Sunday.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about them. Atul Vasan, there are, some people say, 2 separate tournaments. The pitches in Dubai behave differently from the ones in Pakistan. The conditions are also different. First of all, the conditions, what should India do? Bat first or chase? We have the chase master, Virat Kohli. What should we do, number one? Number two, what should be our starting 11? And what are these contests that people are talking about? Which are the ones that we need to look at?
I think it's a good toss to lose, in the last game also. Rohit was, I think, glad that, because let the pressure of deciding what to do. And I think it's been happening. So the pitches are not too different. It's slightly sluggish. And India, the team got criticized that why are we taking 5 spinners? But I think it was good. The horses for courses policy worked well. And look at Pakistan, they just picked up 1 spinner. So I think, so there was a lot of dichotomy in the thought process of all the few teams. But New Zealand has been there for almost 2 months now in Pakistan. They won the Tri-Series. They played in that region all along. And, but that's not just a little bit of why you're doing well. I think the culture we spoke about, India has got slight advantage because it just feels like a home ground because they've been there 15 days. just same dressing room, same coach, same hotel room, and I think there's a kind of familiarity in your mind that okay, so that gives you that extra confidence. The pitches have been different also in Dubai. We saw two different type of pitches also. So I think, but we have covered all bases. But the point is that I must take my hats off to the Kiwis. 5 million people. 5 million people live around my house in Gurgaon. And and they've got this smartness of only having 4 players transcending the formats. We have 140 crores, and we still got 8 players transcending the format. So there's something wrong in our system, which has to be fixed right now. The too much reliance on the superstars to carry forward a format for the commercialization also has to be done away with. So I think take a leaf out of New Zealand and let's enjoy the encounter.
Okay, but what are the what are these contests that you're going to look out for?
I'm just looking at somebody getting out Glenn Phillips. I'm worried about that guy.
Okay, Glenn Phillips. Sabah Kareem?
There are some very interesting contests coming up. I think I look forward to Mitchell Santner versus Virat Kohli, because you see what I think Dilip Doshi is there. He's in a better position to elaborate. But I think I've seen the transition of Mitchell Santner from a white ball specialist to an overall all-format left-arm spin bowler. And I think all that has happened because he has changed himself from being a defensive left-arm spin bowler to an attacking left-arm spin bowler, and all that happened in the home series that India lost to New Zealand. He became the trump card, and I think from there onwards, we have seen this huge difference in Mitchell Santner. I think it has helped him to grow in confidence, not only as a leader but also as a left-arm spinner par excellence. So I think that spell of Mitchell Santner versus the top quality Indian batting lineup, that would be a big contest. But in the end, I believe from both the sides, the team that bats well against the spinners, they will have an edge. So I think India, because they have far more experience, they spend more time on this track in Dubai, they would really fancy themselves to do well against the New Zealand spinners. Although they have only two quality spinners, Mitchell Santner and Bracewell, but Glenn Phillips can chip in. We saw Rachin Ravindra bowl as left-arm spin bowler, so they do have a decent spin bowling attack. And I think for New Zealand, I think they faltered last time around the league game because they were not able to cope with the intricacies of spin bowling from the Indian side. But they have these 2-3 days. They would love to prepare before they encounter the Indian spin bowlers once again.
Sabah Kareem, who should India field? Who should they put in the 11?
No, same team, no change whatsoever. You play with 4 spinners, the same side that did so well in the previous game. And I don't foresee any changes unless any player due to injury has to sit out. Otherwise, this looks to be a pretty well-oiled side, and I think India should go ahead with the same kind of 11. New Zealand, on the other hand, they may feel undercooked at this stage because they have played only one game against India in Dubai. But I think this 2-3 day break, that's one side that would spend a lot of time in preparation and trying to figure out how to tackle the 4 spinners from the Indian side.
Okay, Dilip Doshi, weigh in on this Santner factor.
Yeah, well, I think Santner is a much better bowler since he started bowling slower, and he is able to hang the ball in the air a shade longer than the Indian spinners. So what he does is he creates the doubt in the minds of the Indian batsmen whereabouts the ball is pitching, and because of his height, he delivers from a greater height. The ball takes a little more bounce. And I feel personally that his battle with Virat would be very important from New Zealand's point of view. And Virat, although an outstanding player of this generation, he has shown that he is vulnerable against a turning ball when it is hung in the air. If it is ball flat, it's much easier to bat. The other thing I was going to say is the New Zealand fast bowlers have naturally a better bounce they will extract than from the other bowlers. The other bowlers were more skiddier. So Rohit and Shubnam Gill will have to be very careful about in the pull shot in the early stages of the innings. When in the power play we are looking to score heavier runs, because their ball pitches and bounces a little more like tennis ball because of the wrist action of the New Zealand bowlers and the height they deliver from. And Kane Williamson, we never spoke about that. He's possibly one of the two best organized batsmen in the world today in a classic format. So, and 50 overs or an ODI gives you a good platform to play like a test match. If he's there for 35, 40 overs, he'll get you 100, you know. So Kane Williamson is a very tight player. And I think if he hangs in there, the team rallies around him and builds a total as we saw before.
Okay,
So I think it's all very interesting.
Wrap this up. Very interesting. It's going to be a tight contest, some people say. Do you really think it's going to be a tight one that's going to go down to the wire? Or do you think there is a one-sidedness here? And we're just sort of building this up, the hype and the hoopla, so to speak.
No, Rahul, I hope it goes down to the wire. I mean, this is a final, and you want the two best teams which are there on evidence. Obviously, they're the two best teams. You want them to have a great contest. So I actually see a good match. You know, I mean, in my opinion, it'll be a better match than the one we saw in the league phase because both teams have sussed the other out. New Zealand are coming on the back of a win. India haven't lost a match in this tournament. But as I said at the start, their attributes are very similar. You know, deep batting lineups, plethora of all-rounders, very solid top order for both teams. And obviously, the first power play becomes so crucial for both teams. You lose a couple of wickets and you're on the back foot, whether you're batting first in the match or batting second.
Okay, we leave it at that. It's been fascinating having this conversation. We'll all be padding up, of course, on Sunday. Wonderful. Thank you, gentlemen, for speaking with us and, of course, giving your insights. Lovely. Best of luck, Team India.